Welcome to Gardening with Ray and Nakusp. For those who are keeping track, this is our third episode, and I have good news. Our little crew, which was Gail, Joy, and myself, is growing. Today we have videographer Sharon Starrett with us. And for locals, they'll know Sharon as part of my crew. And Sharon's an avid gardener, a chicken lover, a good cook, and an excellent baker. So she'll be doing our videography with us today so that Gail and I can talk about things. And also, there's two other people, our really good friends, Dave, and also part of the crew is Dave and Joe. And they're going to do the editing and put in music and just make it more professional and fun to watch. Joe is famous around here for her vegan food and her food truck. And Dave is a great tiler and scrounger, scavenger, and builder. So it's great to have them on the crew and just making it a pleasant video for you to watch. So today we're just going to look at the plants that we have in the grow room. Now if you remember last week, we just pricked them out. And the plants just had their primary leaf, which is the first leaf. And now they've already gone past that and got their second leaves, and some of them got their third leaves. And it's important to have the light very close to the plant so they don't stretch. And every once in a while, it's good to just give your plants a little bit of a rub because that helps strengthen these stems. So that's the tomatoes. And what'll happen is in probably about the middle of April or so, the plants will go from here out into the greenhouse where they'll get used to the outdoors, to the sunshine and the wind and the cool weather. So that's the tomatoes, and these are the brassicas. And these will go again out into the greenhouse later to get used to outside. And but these are our cool crops, so they're going to go right into the garden. So the difference between cool crops and warm crops, like cool crops is our spinach, our lettuce, all our brassicas, and the warm crops are our beans, our corn, our tomatoes, our peppers, that kind of thing. So I'm hoping the full moon is April 27th. So we'll kind of watch the weather, and we'll just see. I'll get them probably out in the greenhouse probably about the middle of April, maybe a little bit earlier. And then after that, they'll have a couple weeks in there, a week in there, and then they'll go out to the garden. And this year, I'm saving these containers, and I'm cutting the bottoms out. And I thought if it's kind of cool out there, I don't have enough for all of my crop, but I can just put that little container over top. And in England, they have these glass cloches, which are just gorgeous. But for a cheap substitute, we're going to use these little green plastic greenhouses for outdoors. Now, because I'm not germinating anything in here right now, I got the room a little bit cooler. I left the door open, and so the heat can get out, because these lights put a lot of heat out. And I want the plants to grow a little bit slower too. I don't want them to be too lush and too leggy. So we cooled it off a little bit, and that way the transition to the greenhouse, which is cooler again than this room, will be okay. So now we're outside of the cold frames, and today's a really cold, windy day. So I've been leaving these shut. Just open them up just so you can see what's inside. So they're happy here. They're cool crops. They don't mind a bit of cool. They don't like it cold. So you can see how well they're doing in here. So that's most of the lettuce in there, and then there's a little bit of spinach on the end. And in the cold frame next door here, we have more spinach. So again, this is just a simple box that I put on top of my bed here with some glass that I got given to me. So it's easy done. When I lived down the valley, I had a really beautiful cold frame. It was all done in rock and concrete. It had electric heat underneath, so it was the state-of-the-art cold frame. But this works for me, and I produce a good crop, so that's all I care about.
We had a question on the YouTube channel, Ray, about your cold frame, because you said, after a while you're going to lift up these cold frames and get rid of them.
Right.
Now, the question was, do you take the whole bed with you, or just the wooden bit?
Just the wooden bit. So the box stays here, that's permanent. And then this frame just lifts, the glass goes, and this frame just lifts off. When it's nice and warm and I want to use this for something else, then it just lifts off. And then by then it's warm enough that these plants are fine without the cold frame.
Okay, great, thank you.
Interesting enough, when I lived down the valley, I used to like hang out with the old Nakusps because they're born gardeners. They don't know what they're doing. So they used to have what was called a hot box. So they would dig their soil out, and then they would put straw. And in those days, if they didn't have chicken manure, which is good, so straw and chicken manure, they would use hot lime. So they would put the straw and the hot lime together underneath, put the soil on top, and then they would plant their cucumbers on top of that. And there was always a bit of a competition. You'd casually mention at the end of April, oh, I had my first cucumber, where you're just gleaming away there, but you just mentioned it casually. So it was always kind of fun. And the Nakusp people, they grew up gardening, and walking around the gardens was just a pleasure. It was just so nice. So that's what's happening in these frames. Now we also want to talk about, as fun as this is to grow this stuff, we want to talk about perennial plants, stuff that comes up on its own, you don't have to do anything for. So over here we have a couple, so we'll just walk over this way, Sharon. Chive plants. They're in the onion family, and they're just a wonderful addition. Most people know them, I think. Great for salads, great for on top of soup, great on top of your baked potato. Now I used to have mine out in the front of the garden there, and it was really quite snowy and early, late in the spring. So I decided that this is an early spot. So last year I dug them up and moved them here. So you want to have your chive plants somewhere where the snow goes early and they can start early. And then beside here we have the Egyptian walking onions. I'm going to go give the mic over to Gail, and she's going to talk about Egyptian walking onions because she's the pro.
I really love Egyptian walking onions because they are so forgiving. There's no work at all to them, and you can be eating out of your garden. I don't know about the Nakusps, but you can have greens, onions in your garden in February around here. So this is what they look like. You can see here, Sharon. These are beautiful little onions that have started. They look like they got a bit damaged on top, but it doesn't matter. And they're growing in clumps. And what these are, just little things like this that grow. You can take away some and eat them. Each of these will multiply. So it will start out as one, it'll get bigger, and then suddenly it'll be two. So you can harvest one, you've still got one. And if you start these, you can have onions, green onions, and later in the season when you think, oh my God, I need an onion, you just go out in the garden and get the growing bulb. Here's one that looks a little bit bigger. This is from last year. Here we are. So let's say I'm cooking something and I don't have an onion. I can just go out here and grab one of these little guys, and I've got an onion. Once these start to multiply and get big, they will send up a stalk. Now, this lovely specimen is last year's seed stalk. So it will come up here. It's just punky, there's nothing to it. It'll come up here, be straight, and then they're called Egyptian onions or walking onions. So its way of walking is this. And then it will do the same thing over here. So you have more and more onions. And this rather nasty looking crate has a whole bunch of Egyptian onions.
That's coming up now, but rhubarb is another wonderful crop. It's early, rhubarb pie is great, or crisp is wonderful too. That's a great spring thing. So just stay tuned for this and watch how it grows. And over here we have the sorrel. Now it's a plant that I grew up with, but not many people know it.
And sometimes it's called French sorrel, right?
Right. Yes.
French
Yeah.
sorrel.
Yeah. So this is a sorrel plant. It's hard to find, so I actually found some seeds and started my own. And then I gave a bunch away, so I'm down to one plant. And it's great for a spring green. And maybe Gail, you can talk a little bit about the benefits of spring bitters.
Many traditions think of spring as a time to cleanse, a time to change the diet, whether you're giving things up for Lent or you just want to do a detox. And traditionally, it's the early spring greens, the dandelions. Even the dandelion roots make tea out of them. Anything you've got that's bitter is believed to be very cleansing, especially for the liver. So spring greens, everyone, eat those dandelions. They'll be up very soon.
These are hellebores, Hellebore orientalis or Lenten rose, and they're a wonderful plant. They bloom early, they're tough, but you can see when I first got them, I let them go to seed, and because I wanted to reproduce more, but you can see how they spread like crazy. So now I'm at the point was after they have their beauty and I enjoy the seed pods for a little bit, then I cut the seed pods off because they really become a weed. But you can see all the different colors of them. This is purplish, and this one that's got a little bit of purple streaks on the white. And then over here, it's mostly this another ivory color. And also the spring bulbs are really important. These are the big crocuses. And as Sharon passes the pulmonaria, you can see that they're going to be setting blooms pretty quick too. And also starting to get bigger is the brunera. And I love them. They're like a forget-me-not. They have blue flowers. And there's the old-fashioned brunera, which is just a green leaf. But the new variety called Jack Frost is great. It's got a beautiful silver color to the leaf. So even when it's finished blooming, it's a very attractive plant. So it's nice when you get a plant like that that's got a beautiful flower, a beautiful leaf, so that it's the joy of its beauty lasts all season long. Favorite spring shrubs. This is a witch hazel, or hemamalus. This is Hemamalus intermedia. And this variety, I believe, is Gelina. You can see it's a little bit of a coppery color. And then there's Arnold's Promise. If you want something that's really, really showy, Arnold's Promise is a bright yellow. Now, unfortunately, you can see the old flower buds here. This bloomed last fall, and so I just have this one section that's blooming now. And in the fall it bloomed, and then the yellow leaves on it kind of hide the flowers. So I'm glad at least I have one little section blooming now. So again, it's an intermediate shrub to be at the edge of the forest, when the forest opens up into the grassland and then into the meadow. And it can get quite large, so it makes a nice big shrub. The spring bulbs, there's hundreds of varieties, and so here we have the winter aconite around this, and they're just really showy. Now I have all the snow thrown here, so these are coming up a little bit later. So as well as the winter aconite, these are the iris. This is Iris reticulata, and they come in blue, like purplish, deep purple, light blues, all with a little bit of accent to them. They're just gorgeous. Blooming for a while, so they're going to be finished pretty quick now, but I love them. I have little clumps here, and yep, just little clumps throughout the garden. Makes it nice.
So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like.
Okay.
You know? Okay. And action.
Hi folks, so just a minute, let's start over again.
Okay.
Hi folks, thanks for watching. If you like what you see, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like. Thank you very much. Bye now.